Hey, happen. Okay, here we are. Hey, money makers. I'm Kalila Reynolds, and welcome to another episode of Taking Stock Live. I'm back in the studio, but you probably noticed a little something different's going on. Gotta update the look, refresh the look, reinvent myself, things happening around these parts. So we've got another great show coming up for you tonight. Shout out to all the early warmers. I'm going to shout you out a little bit later. Let me know in the comments where you're joining us from, what part of the country, what part of the world. Here's a look at what's coming up in tonight's show, followed by what's hot in business.
Manufacturing and distribution company Derrimon Trading is reporting record-breaking revenues of $9.5 billion for the 6 months ended June 30, 2023. Wow! What contributed to this performance? And what are their future plans for growth? We'll find out from Derrimon's chairman and CEO, Derrick Cotterell. And the analysts weighing on the latest market developments. Honey Bun's third quarter financial results are out. How did they perform? And internationally, how has the S&P 500 performed year to date? We'll discuss. But first, here's What's Hot, brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart. The Jamaica Stock Exchange has suspended trading of iCreate shares for at least 1 month. According to a notice from the JSE, trading of iCreate shares will be suspended until the company publishes its audited financial statements. iCreate said its audited financials, which were due in April, were delayed because of its acquisition of Visual Vibe. The company said it intends to publish its audited results by September 30. The news comes just days after founder and CEO Tyrone Wilson announced that he would be stepping down from his role. Jamaica's unemployment rate fell to a historic low 4.5% recently. According to the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, as of April 2023, there were 1,373,800 people in the labor force, up 1.7% from April last year. Statin said the lower unemployment rate was mostly attributed to more women joining the labor force. The agency noted that the real estate and other business services industry, which includes the fast-growing BPO sector, was one of the top industries hiring females. VM customers will now have to pay a fee when they use non-VM ABMs and point-of-sales machines. The bank said withdrawals at non-VM ABMs will attract a $51 fee, while point-of-sale transactions will charge a fee of $11.50. The fees will take effect on October 1. VM customers have been able to conduct these transactions for free for years. However, the company said it can no longer absorb the costs of the transactions. Manufacturing and distribution company Derrimon Trading reported record-breaking revenues of $9.5 billion for the 6 months ended June 30, 2023. According to Derrimon, the recently acquired Spicy Hill Farms and Arosa Limited and a new supermarket location in Clarendon were the biggest contributors to the group's results. Retail sales spiked in the United States last month as inflation in the country began to cool. The U.S. sales report showed an almost 1% in sales increase for July. Online shopping sales rose 2%, while sporting goods and food services sales rose 1.5%. U.S. inflation slowed to 3% in June, after raising to a 40-year high of 9.1% in June 2022. What's Hot was brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart.
Attention! Are you struggling with money? Trying to figure out how to pay off your credit cards? Are you ready to learn how to invest and grow your money? I'm Kalila Reynolds, the Money General, and I'm on a mission to help you get better with money. Join me inside the Money Mission community where I'll teach you how to manage money, make more money, and annihilate bad debt. Click the link in the description to sign up for your basic or premium membership. Let's get this money.
I took Kalila's Investing for Beginners masterclass because I heard there was an IPO launching and I just jumped right into it.
Help you to know how to invest and the steps you can go to achieve your goals as well.
If it is that y'all are interested in learning about investments or anything, I really suggest that you hop on that class, that masterclass, because the way that I look at money now, and saving, I look at it different now.
Kalila, you're the reason Merchant Brown started investing.
Learn the basics about stock market investing today. Investing for Beginners is available on demand or with a premium membership to the Money Mission community. Join now at moneymission.mn.co. The link is in the description.
This segment of Taking Stock is brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agency, insurance made easy.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Let's shout out our early viewers. Let me see who you are and where you're joining us from, starting with Lemoy. Lemoy says, good morning. Is it morning where you are? Or good evening? I can't wait for this amazing show later on. Oh, what time Lemoy comment that? From morning for real, 11:56 a.m. So super, super early. Who else we have here? Learn, Grow, Invest saying congratulations on 50K subscribers. Yay! Thank you. Learn, Grow, Invest. Yay, us. You know, I didn't even notice. Like, I've been here dogging it out, looking to see when we hit 50K. And come on the show tonight and it's Ono tell me that we hit 50K. Finally. Only took us, 4 years? But yeah, we're getting there bit by bit, subscriber by subscriber. So thank you so much. Ricardo says, greetings. Shanice says, let's get this money. Roger, Kish, pick up yourself every single time. Who else we have? Summer, Craig, ready and waiting for another informative episode. Let's get this money. Thank you guys so much. So manufacturing and distribution company Derrimon Trading reported record-breaking revenues of $9.5 billion for the 6 months ended June 30, 2023. So that's not even for a whole year. That's 6 months revenue. So what contributed to this amazing performance and what are their plans for future growth? Let's find out from Derrimon's chairman and CEO, Derrick Cotterell. Hi, Derrick.
Good evening. How are you?
I am great. It is good to see you, especially under such amazing circumstances. Congratulations on your record-breaking profits.
Thank you.
So for those who don't fully know what Derrimon does, give us some background on the company.
Well, you kind of said it. Derrimon is a manufacturing, distribution, and also retail company. We have several manufacturing companies, Caribbean Flavor and Fragrances, Spicy Hill, and Arosa. Those are the and Woodcats, of course. Those are our main manufacturing companies. And Derrimon Distribution is our distribution company. And we have 2 retail brands, Sampars and Select Grocers.
Well, talk to me about these recent acquisitions, Spicy Hill Farms and Arosa. Did they have anything to do with your super amazing performance?
Yes, those companies came in this year. Well, we started them last year, towards the middle to the end of last year. Also, our new store in Maypen, Select Grocers in Maypen. So those 3 helped with the performance. And I also forgot to mention our wonderful acquisition in New York City.
Yes.
So for those who are joining us from New York, we have Food Savers, New York, soon to be Sampars, New York. We're just going to go to some rebranding later this year, early next year, so that we can leverage the strength of the Sampars name there. So those are, those new acquisitions along with the existing business, because we did get some improved performances from the existing business that contributed to an increase in our revenue for 2023 over 2022 year to date.
That's amazing. So I do remember that acquisition. Was it last year? I think in New York. So now we have Sampars.
It was 2021.
Oh,
it was 2021.
Time is moving
Yes,
super fast. Time is moving so fast. Yes. So all of our New York viewers, let me know if you've been to soon to be Sampars, New York. Where in New York is it?
It's in Brooklyn. It's near to the Brooklyn terminal. It's 402 East 83rd Street in Brooklyn, Canarsie. Right next to the Brooklyn terminal. Beautiful store. It's called Food Savers. and you can get all the Jamaican Caribbean foods there, along with some African products also. We do also service the African diaspora in New York.
So how is that supermarket doing? Shelly Ann wants to know.
It's doing pretty good. We have gotten excellent response. We stock a lot of stuff here from Jamaica, and like I said, from Africa. It's kind of a world store. We bring stuff from UK, we bring stuff from other Caribbean islands. So the customers are pretty happy with the offerings, and we are bringing in some new items, particularly from our own brand, Delect. Beefing up the inventory there, giving people exposure to really excellent quality products. Our coconut milk and our coconut milk powder is a rave. It has more coconut than any other product on the market, and consumers are responding very positively to it. And also mackerel has more mackerel in the can than any other product on the market. So those are just some other products. We also have some unique products like our cordials, our sorrel cordials, our ginger beer cordial, our fruit punch cordial concentrate, and also we have it also in the flavor of pink lemonade. Everybody loves the pink lemonade, and so those are some unique products that are doing very, very well for us, not just here in Jamaica, but also in New York, and we're exporting even further to Cayman and some of the small islands in the Caribbean.
That's awesome. So remind us what the other two companies do, Spicy Hill Farms and Arosa.
Okay, Spicy Hill Farms its main products, it's soups. So that manish water soup, authentic Jamaican manish water. Spicy Hill Farms is who came up with that idea and still have the authentic product. Then there is a Ram It Up, which, as the name suggests, it will turn your curry goat into a ram goat treat. So even if you buy a she goat, we can ensure that you get the real ram goat taste by using the Ram It Up. And I'm happy to announce that we have started a new product. We have introduced a new product, which is cock-a-noodle soup. It is an excellent product. It has nothing artificial in it. It's all natural, from real chicken to all natural ingredients. No artificial coloring, no artificial flavoring. It's an all natural product, and it is really delicious. We debuted it at the expo, and we had lines at our booth just to taste the soup. It's now on the market, rolling out slowly. You'll see it in your favorite supermarket and wholesale. You can try it. It's an excellent product, and that we haven't gotten much revenue from that because we just started that product in June. But we're doing production now, and our product will be out, and it will be in New York soon.
And it's made in Jamaica?
Made in Jamaica, right here in Jamaica at our factory at Spicy Hill Farms. And Arosa is primarily a meat producer. We process meats. We do sausages and hams, and we do a lot of specialty sausages. The previous owner, Mr. Robert Erner, is Swiss national, no Jamaican. He has been here for over 40 years, so he's really fully Jamaican. But he brought over from Switzerland some really original recipes. So for your real gourmet type products, Arosa is the place to get those products. And also, regular Frankfurters, we have a wonderful flavor product. Our products are really of high quality. We also do wines at Arosa, and this company mainly services food service, which include restaurants, hotels, etc. So, we're now playing in that market. We were primarily through our distribution company just doing wholesales and supermarkets, but now we're doing stronger food service into the hotels through Arosa.
So the past couple of years have been quite challenging on the supply side. So how has that affected you at Derrimon?
Well, we have managed to stay ahead of it most of the time. There is still some supply issues that's going to continue for a while. Whilst we're seeing the back of COVID, there is still some disruption in supplies. Shipping rates are coming down, but interest rates are high, and some businesses did not survive the pandemic. So there's some shifting around taking place. On the whole, I would say we have managed, to have not had any major disruption from supplies. But it's not what it was pre-pandemic. But we continue to, work at that. It means you have to carry additional inventory, which is at additional cost. So we have found that our costs have gone up in order to service our customers and our clientele, because we have to carry more inventory.
What about inflation? Because that's been the other killer, both locally and in the US.
Yes.
How's
You
that
see, a
affecting
lot
you?
of people think that business people love inflation because prices go up. But what they fail to realize that it takes more money to buy the same amount of products. So your working capital increase, your interest costs, the governments around the world have, not just Jamaica, have increased the cost of money. So interest costs have gone up. Interest costs have almost doubled in Jamaica. So the cost of money is very high now. So our costs have gone up, and you can't necessarily pass on the full extent of these costs to the consumers. So it's challenging times, but we have seen this before. It's nothing unusual. We'll get through this. We just have to continue to be at the wheel and be vigilant and get the job done. But it's not, when prices go up, it doesn't just affect consumers, it also affects businesses, because
So
we have
to
to
what
find more money to buy the same amount of inventory.
to what extent have you passed on those price increases?
I would say some have not been passed on at all, some 50%. Some will have to pass the full extent of the price increase on because the margins are so low. So it varies depending on the item and how much inventory you had and what the trends are. Some prices are coming down, but it's nowhere near what it used to be pre-pandemic, because I said costs have gone up in businesses. So we're still seeing that it's not going to go back to what it was before.
As a business owner, Derrick, how do you manage that? Because it's a delicate balance deciding when to increase prices and to what extent to increase prices. We do have entrepreneurs who watch the show who try to figure it out for themselves as well. Maybe you could offer some guidance as to how you approach it there at Derrimon.
Well, I want to say it's a precise science. One thing is, I'm going to be very frank, you have to make sure you stay in business. So you have to make sure you watch your costs and are covering your costs. Because if you don't cover your costs, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be out of business. In the same breath, you have to ensure that the consumers will be willing to pay the price that you want to offer. And what I'd also say, you have to diversify your sourcing. You have to look at ways to cut your costs, because it will be very difficult for you to pass on the full cost to your consumers. So if you want to remain above ground, you have to do a lot of different stuff, including diversifying your suppliers. You have to be also willing to make less money, because that's how business is. The trajectory is in most business not always in one direction going up. It's going to have a little bit of bumps and blips, and so you have to be realistic and expect some of that. So the main thing I would say is make sure you can keep your head above the water, and look how best you can diversify your sources, to ensure that you can stay ahead of this.
So coming back to the acquisitions that we were discussing earlier, the objective of this interview is talking about the growth that you've experienced, and I'm seeing a parallel there. Would you say that aggressive acquisition is what's driving growth to the company right now?
Yes and no, because we do have some organic growth. We constantly look for businesses that can add strategically to us. Not all our acquisitions is done for revenue growth. Sometimes it's strategic, like Spice Hill. We thought was a good opportunity. It's not a lot of revenue per se, but what we are going to do with Spice Hill is going to turn it into a very big enterprise. We saw that opportunity. The fact that that company produces authentic, unique products from Jamaica that has strong demand. So we're increasing the supply of those products, and we're launching new products under the Spice Hill brand. So we don't just look to grow from acquisition. We also do some organic growth with existing businesses. For example, virtually every single one of our supermarkets and wholesale have grown 2023 over 2022. Other parts it has to compensate because other parts of the business may be going through challenges, and so you have to look for opportunities elsewhere. But we are a growing company. We have a lot of young people working with us who are anxious to prove themselves, and we do a lot of homegrown development of talent. We also like to expose our young people to senior management. So we are happy to grow the business so that we can accommodate more people in employment, and also opportunities for them to be in management.
But is the result of is the increase in revenues the result of people paying more because inflation is high, prices are going up, or is it that you're actually selling more items?
Yeah, it's a combination of both. Yes, there's some inflation, but inflation slowed down a bit 2022 over 2023. For 2021-22, inflation was higher. So it's more real growth as opposed to just inflation in most cases. Also, to be totally honest, there are some businesses that have been flat, going through their own challenges. And so the new supermarket in particular would have helped us to grow the business some more. That new supermarket is nowhere near its full potential yet. We have had a very slow rollout, sorting out some teething pains, but happily those have been sorted out, and we managed to go through these teething pains without affecting the service we give to our customers. But we want to make sure we got that store right. So, for example, that store will have a tech store that's going to be something similar to what you'll have as a Best Buy in the United States. We have nothing like that in Jamaica. So yes, we haven't really rolled that store out yet in a big way. We are partnering with
And this is the store in Clarendon, right?
That's the store in Clarendon, yes. We decided to use a mezzanine as a part of the store rather than storage as it was designed earlier. And that is going to be a wonderful tech store. So Jamaica will have a first world type tech and appliance store right there in Maypen, which is just less than an hour from Kingston and less than an hour from Mandeville, right in the middle of the island. And we expect to generate a lot of income from that business as we roll it out. Also starting probably end of September. It's up now, but we're just, working through some stuff and really get it launched towards the last quarter of the year, October, November, December. So we have set the base for a stronger, better company, and so we plan to continue to grow. So even without doing other acquisitions, there are innovations in terms of product expansion, as I mentioned in Spice Hill, and with Select Grocers, we're going to have Select Tech, which will start off being in Maypen, and we're going to roll it out in some other stores as we do some realignment of our Select brand and of our Select stores.
So are you done with acquisitions for now, or are you still eyeing other potential companies to acquire?
We evaluate every opportunity independently and make a decision. So I can't tell you we're looking at anything specifically now, but we never stop looking.
Okay, fair enough. Let's take some questions from the audience. There are quite a few. So several people asking about dividends. Shelly Ann says, just tell me how much of the money shareholders are getting.
I can't answer that question directly as a decision by the board and the finance committee, but I like to be very straightforward. The challenge that Derrimon will have with dividends, generally speaking, when we do pay dividends, is not a very big dividends, I'm being totally honest, is the fact that we're in a rapid growth mode. Companies that tend to pay higher dividends are companies that are more mature and are using their cash, just turning over and continuing the business. But a lot of the earnings that we make, we reinvest in the business to make it bigger and stronger. So I'll be very honest with you, as a policy and based on the direction we're going, we're not going to pay heavy dividends, but we do pay dividends from time to time. I can't say when the next dividends will be paid. That's a board decision, and it will be remiss of I'll be going out on a limb and speaking out of turn if I have to say so. But we want to reward our loyal shareholders with dividends but I just want to warn that it's not going to be heavy dividends because we're growing the business. So, we'll get the gains otherwise.
When last have you paid dividends?
I think we paid dividends 2 years ago. I may be wrong, but I think it's 2 years ago. Yeah. 2 years ago. I think it would have been 2020 or 2021. Don't hold me to it. It's one of those 2 years.
I don't know if you can answer this next question. It comes from Earl, who wants to know what's dragging down the stock price.
I'm not an expert in the stock market. It's not the performance of the company. I think generally speaking, the stock prices in Jamaica are a little depressed now. The market isn't doing as well as it should. That's not necessarily unique to Jamaica, but if it is on performance, I think the stock price should be going up. So, but I'm no expert on the stock market. I'll be honest with you. I run the business. I'm not an expert in the share prices. I apologize. I probably should know more, but I'll be honest with you.
No, that's why
I stay in my lane. My focus is running the business. I run it well.
I don't know if you can answer that question because, as you know, you're running a company. You're not in charge of what the stock price does. That's something that we typically ask our analysts. So, next question comes from NanoSense, who says, "Are you going to set up a similar store like the one in the state in Canada, GTA to be exact, Greater Toronto area?"
Yes, we intend to grow out in North America. We are even looking at the community of Brampton as we speak. But that's very, very early days. But we do intend to grow our business in the North American region. So Toronto, Atlanta, Washington, Philadelphia, of course, down South Florida. We intend to be in these locations in the not too distant future. We're looking for those opportunities, and when those come up, we will certainly make use of them.
Next question comes from Damien, who wants to know, where can I get the Ram It Up? Where is it available for sale?
It's available in quite a few supermarkets, certainly in some parts and select grocery store, but it's going to be in most locations island-wide. There was a challenge in filling the inventory, but we have been doing better at it because the company was closed down when we bought it, and so we have had to be working to bring the production up to the level it was. We are pretty much there now. Unfortunately, we do quite a bit of exports, so unfortunately we can't sell everything here in Jamaica, but some is available. I know it's at some parts and select, and there are some other locations island-wide that you'll get it.
Okay, I don't see any other question. Well, we do have a few more. I'll take one final question from our viewers. Crypto King wants to know, do you have any plans for Mandeville, Manchester? I heard you talking about a tech store when I joined. That store is in Clarendon. Is it in Maypen?
We want to open up our tech once we organize and get the concept right. In Maypen, we want to roll out these tech stores around the island. But we are very careful in what we do. We want to get it right. And so we started in Maypen. We want to put a select car Sampars. We have Sampars in Mandeville, but it's a very small outlet. We're looking for an opportunity to build a proper, bigger supermarket / wholesale in that area, and the tech store will be part of it. So yes, when that opportunity come, we'll be jumping at it. But it's a short drive from Mandeville to Maypen, and I assure you that you'll be the experience in Select Maypen is very pleasant. So you can take your family with you and enjoy the ambience and everything that is there for our Mandeville consumers. And the road will soon be finished, so it will take less than half an hour to get there in a short time.
Much less than half an hour, because it's like half an hour drive now.
You say, Khalil, I drive at the speed limit,
Yeah. No, on the new toll road, Maypen to Mandeville is supposed to be 15 minutes.
Whoa, see there? Great.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
The Mandeville people will be getting there even quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. I didn't realize it was going to be that short, but yes.
So let me say, let's see when it opens. Supposed to open any day now.
Yes, we'll see.
Well, thank you so much,
Yes.
Derrick. Congratulations and good luck on all your new ventures. We look forward to hearing more.
Thank you, Kalila. And thank you, listeners. And thank you, Jamaica, for your continued support. We are very happy that we are here serving you. And on behalf of the team at Derrimon Trading, we just want to tell Jamaica thanks and say, have a wonderful day.
Good stuff. Okay, so to our viewers, last night I broke down the One Great Studio prospectus. Inside the Money Mission community, we had a lot of people who are considering investing for the very first time who joined us. If you're interested in the IPO, here's just a little sneak peek of what we went through. I went through the entire prospectus and helped you to understand what to look out for in a prospectus. Here it is. So you're going to look for the share price. And here we see that the share price is $1 for ordinary share for both the general public and for the reserved pool. By the way, if you guys have any questions along the way, feel free to either raise your hand or post it in the chat. So we can see here that they're offering a total of 338,000, etc. ordinary shares. Million, sorry, not thousand, million. And we can also see that half of them are for the public and half of them are for reserve pool. And I'll explain what those are very soon. So what are reserved pool? In this case, well, they tell you what they are. So they're reserving some for key strategic partners, and they're also reserving some for their own team members. So people who work at 1GS get reserved shares. It's the same price as it is for the general public. Okay, so make sure you join the Money Mission community. We went for over 2 hours last night going over that IPO prospectus. We spent quite a bit of time on the management discussion and analysis, where their growth is coming from. So make sure you join that community so you don't miss a thing. And you can still access the replay of that webinar with a basic subscription, or you can just purchase access to that single webinar. Just click the link in the description, and it should be pinned at the top of the comment section as well. Let's join the Money Mission and let's get this money. All right, now it's time for tonight's poll question. And here is your question for this evening. A lot has been happening in the markets right now. Has your confidence in investing been impacted by 2023 business and finance activities? So have, iCreate, SSL, NCB, a whole lot of things happening. Has your confidence in the market been affected? Here are your options. A, nope, that's just the way it goes. B, yes, I don't feel safe investing. C, no, the regulatory bodies are doing their jobs. D, I'm nervous but hopeful. And other, leave a comment. How do you feel about what's going on? Breaking news like every week, something coming up. Let me know in the comments, and you can also take that poll over on X, the app formerly known as Twitter, as well as on our YouTube channel in the community section. Now it's time for a hurricane tip from our sponsor, CG United.
Hurricane tips are brought to you by CG United. It's good like that.
Deciding to secure your vessel ashore or anchored may depend on your insurance policy. With some policies, your marine vessel is still covered if it remains in the water, and if not, you must remove it from the water and store it securely ashore. Be sure to check your policy to see what your coverage requires so you're prepared if storms arise this hurricane season. And that was your hurricane tip from CG United.
Hurricane tips were brought to you by CG United. It's good like that.
Up next, we've got your market recap, and the analysts are standing by.
This segment of Taking Stock was brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agency, Insurance Made Easy.
Hey moneymakers, join the KRM fam with our official merch. Get it now at KalilaReynolds.com. Let's get this money.
The JC Combined Index lost over 1,000 points last week, 124 stocks traded across the main and junior markets for the week ending Friday, August 18, 2023. 44 made gains, 70 lost value, and 10 stayed the same. 114 million shares changed hands on the Jamaican dollar market, valued at $435 million. Wigton was the week's most traded stock. It took up 12% of market volume with 14 million shares trading. The stock lost 9 cents to open Monday at 67 cents. Trans-Jamaican Highway traded at the second highest. The stock gained 7 cents to open this week at $2.59. And Sterling Investments rounded out last week's most traded with 13 million shares changing hands. The stock's price remained unchanged to open Monday at $2.55. Now let's see who are the biggest gains for the week. ISP Finance Services was the market's biggest gain, up 18%. The stock opened Monday at $25.15. CAC 2000 was also up 18% to start the new week at $6.98. And Pulse was up almost 17% to open the week at $2.63. On the losing side now, Cygnus Credit Investments USD was the week's biggest loser. The stock lost 2 cents to open Monday at 9 cents US. JMMB Group 7.25% was the week's second biggest loser, opening the new week at $1.45. And Consolidated Bakeries was down almost 16%, closing last week at $2.31. Over on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, the composite index lost 8 points or almost 1% last week. Grace Kennedy was the most traded stock. The stock's price lost 4 cents to open this week at $3.35 TT. National Flour Mills was the market's biggest gain, up 4% to open this week at $1.60 TT. And on the losing side, Trinidad and Tobago NGL fell 13% to open Monday at $15.01 TT. Over in the US, the Dow Jones, S&P 500, and the Nasdaq were all down 2% last week. At the pumps, gas and diesel prices were all up $4.50 last week. In foreign exchange, it took an average $155.52 Jamaican to purchase $1 last Friday. That's 2 cents more than a week before. Meanwhile, it took an average $116.65 Jamaican to purchase $1 Canadian. 1 British pound cost on average $197.86 Jamaican, and you could buy €1 for $171.77 Jamaican on average. Finally, on the crypto markets, Bitcoin was down 9% over the past 5 days, trading at $26,047 US on Monday. Ethereum was down 7%, trading at $1,671 US on Monday. This segment of Taking Stock, The Analysts, is brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart. Disclaimer: this is not intended as financial advice. Please consult a licensed financial advisor before making investment decisions.
Welcome back. So somebody was asking in the comments, where do you find the poll questions? It's on Twitter and it's also here on YouTube. So this is what the YouTube channel looks like on desktop. And if you go over here to community, that's where you see all the poll questions. Additionally, if you are on a mobile device, it will often just come up in your feed as you're scrolling through YouTube looking for stuff to watch. You'd see the poll come up. So, and there's also one more place where you can find it. There's a link to it in the actual video. We've tried to put this on mute. So down here in the description, you click more. Is there a link to it? There should be. Maybe not. Usually, oh, okay, here we go. Take this week's poll. And then here's the link. You just click the link and it takes you straight to the poll. Yeah. All right, so that's where you find the poll questions. I see a few good comments coming in regarding tonight's poll question as well. So let me take some of those comments in the meantime. Let me see what we have. Maypen and not playpen. Yeah, Sean wanted to know where we find the polls. Orvin said, I think 1GS is going to face some headwinds, some strong headwinds based on the current climate. So yeah, everybody's looking at this one. It actually opens next week, Monday. So you still have time to get your applications in. Sean says, not gonna lie, I'm starting to worry. Philip says, nope, My confidence is not affected. Broad views are broke views. There's a lot of good in our market. The bad news is amplified in excess of the good. Opportunities abound. Raquel says D, which was nervous but still hopeful or something like that, I think. Sean says, feels like you're dodging raindrops. Lily says, I'm loving it. I want some of these stock prices to drop even lower. Sales season. At some point, you do want them to recover, though. Summer says, I'm new to investing. I have some level of excitement. Not sure why. Probably because you're new to investing. And then Robert says, I just opened a JTrader account and I was working out some EPS for some companies, and most of the stocks are undervalued when I work out the PE ratio. And that is a fact. So let's bring on the analysts this evening. Today I'm joined by Leovani Dillon, investment research and sovereign risk analyst at JMMB Group. And we also have Julian Morrison, founder of Wealth Watch JA. Welcome, Leo. Welcome, Julian. It's great to see you back, both of you.
No, man. Good night, Kalila. How you doing?
So the big news this week is the JSE's suspension of iCreate, suspending trading of their shares until reportedly they publish their audited financial statements. And Julian, I want to start with you. What is going on? Can you explain what this suspension actually means?
Okay, so suspension typically speaks to a pause in the trading of the security based on violation of trading rules on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. So it can be for numerous reasons. It can be because of financials that were published late. It can be for fraudulent actions and for other examples. But essentially, when a company breaks the rules of the stock exchange, there are certain parameters that are taken as disciplinary action, and one of them is suspension. So that's the situation they're facing right now.
And what can a company do? So typically what happens? Is it that when a company comes into compliance, then the trading of shares just automatically resumes? And have we seen this before?
Yes, it has happened before with other companies. Naturally, the situation has to be remedied or rectified. So whatever is outstanding needs to be resubmitted, and an application has to be sent to essentially show that, okay, fine, we have now been making changes, and we want to now be given the opportunity to have the suspension removed. So there are many instances that have happened over the years, over the last 20 years or so. For example, that happened with a company called Dial, and there are just many other examples. I can't remember all of them from the top of my head, but suspensions have happened before.
Is it something to be concerned about, especially considering all the trials that iCreate has been going through in the past several months?
Well, suspension has a lot to do with governance, because most boards of directors have systems in place to ensure that the gaps are filled as it relates to governance. So for example, the timely filing of various disclosures, whether that be financial statements or corporate actions such as acquisitions and declaration of dividends and so on, or leadership changes. So it has to do with a tiered system, meaning there are different levers, or there are different parameters that are put in place internally to hold companies accountable, meaning leadership within companies accountable. And the board is really there to create that protection barrier. So I wouldn't say it's down to any one person only, but the board of directors also has a role to play in ensuring that these things don't happen, because they're the ones to tap the CEO on the shoulder and say, hey, where is this? We're a couple months late with this document, etc.
So Leo, if you're an iCreate shareholder right now, what do you do?
All right. Well, the thing is, it's because it's suspended, you can't trade the shares. So basically, you're going to have to wait until they get all of this sorted out, and then you have an opportunity to make any execution of shares. Other than that, there's really nothing.
You can't do
Options are
anything.
very limited. Yeah. No, that being said, further to the point I was presented earlier, There have been cases before of this before in the market. Even a company that's fairly actively traded now has been suspended previously because of a similar violation, and they're trading now and everything is fine. That being said, though, of course, it's going to take a big hit to confidence in the stock, at least in the near term. Again, it's not a insurmountable hurdle. As in, like it's possible for them to get over it, but it's going to be hard. And of course, you already know before the company already had issues in terms of the performance of the company. This acquisition was viewed by many because it started speculation based on the stock price movement and from like the lower dollar, almost like 4 plus, because of all of these announcements about acquisitions and things that they're gonna do. Of course, that now, of course, is creating issues. So yeah, so basically, if you're a shareholder in this, that's what it's gonna be. And of course, this again, I think it's a point that I made earlier. The thing is, because a relatively small, young company early in the market, it wasn't really for every investor because again, with any of these things, they can work out, but it's also a risk reward trade-off. So it's for each investor to kind of understand what kind of risk they can take, which in my opinion, based on, of course, the business model of this company, what they've been doing, the risk profile would have been relatively high. So it wasn't like a company that had a strong balance sheet, that had a cash, years, a track record of performance that would reduce the risk for investors. So
That's
that's
true.
just
And yeah, when they listed, they were a startup.
yeah, it was basically a startup, and the business model too was not one that was, like, locked in stable, one of those consumer discretionary. So it wasn't like for argument's sake, like a Derrimon Trading or like selling food products that are more stable,
Like a
known.
supermarket, and everybody
Yeah,
always go to supermarket, right?
supermarket. So there's some level of stability there because of their business model. It was a new. So again, not that new business models can't work because we see, of course, you look in the US market with your Teslas and your Facebook, new business models can work but it's just that they become more risky. So the thing is, again, is for persons to understand where their tolerance is and to say, all right, I'm young for argument's sake, I'm willing to take this risk, right? Or to say, all right, I'm an older person that about to go into retirement. Can I take this high degree of risk? So it's about each person kind of understanding, talking to their wealth advisor, and getting a full picture of what this is supposed to be, as in like a part of their portfolio or not. Right? Yeah. So
I love that you raised that point about assessing your risk because, like we said, iCreate was basically a startup when it listed. And the fact is that most businesses fail within the first 5 years. I'm not saying iCreate is failing, but most businesses, most startups, don't make it. And so that's going to mean that it's going to be a higher level of risk if you invest in a company like this. But coming back to Julian, the CEO has now resigned. What do you make of that? And this follows, by the way. So, first of all, in May, the CFO resigned. And then in July, the deputy CEO, who's also the COO, resigned. And then in August, the CEO resigned. And then now we have suspension of trading. What does all of that put together say to you, Julian?
Well, for full transparency, I've been accused of being an iCreate detractor. So the jury is out. Maybe some people will say I'm biased or whatever the case may be, but just following the numbers, the company has been in a situation that has had investors essentially waiting for a turnaround because we've accepted the risk. Fine, the company is a startup. The founder is young and energetic, a visionary, somebody who likes to create new projects. And that's good because in the early stages, companies are highly tied to who their founders are, especially in the beginning. You're really betting on the person more than the company, so to speak, because there isn't much to go by, separate and apart from the capability of the leader and the founder and the visionary. So that's just to put it into perspective. But in successive financial years, we've seen cases where there's inconsistencies around the timing of how financials are released. So some of the filings would have been late, whether it be the audited financials or the annual reports, for instance. And we know the annual reports are very detailed. They would provide the management discussion and analysis to explain what happened over the year. So I remember last year in financial year 2022, I think the annual report was about 11 months late. Now, by the time investors get that information, the business would have changed
11
materially.
months.
Yeah, it was about
How
that.
come they weren't suspended then? That is unacceptable.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of getting information on time and carrying investors along the growth journey, because businesses, they take risk. That's how they make money. But it is the founder's duty to be transparent and to communicate the vision and the story to the investors for them to stay along for the ride, because getting perspective, especially from a company founder, goes a very far way. That's why investor relations is important. Speaking about getting information not only on time but accurate information, and just hearing from the leader and getting information that is credible. So for instance, when we heard about the Visual Vibe acquisition the first time, we would have been told that it was completed in a given time period,
In
and then following that,
January.
right, and then we would have heard that it wasn't in fact complete at that time period. It's now pending and is to be closed in another period. Those are the things that break investor confidence. And it highlights the importance of investor relations as it relates to um, how the stock trades, how easy it is for the company to raise capital later on, how easy it is for that founder to move on to new businesses if they so choose. Because again, each founder and each company leader has a brand, and it is that brand that guides the company's success, especially in the beginning. So these are some of the challenges the company has had, and we really need to take it as a learning moment, as a market, to say, hey, investor relations matter. It's not just about posting financials on time, but showing leadership is really about communicating and creating a connection with the investor base and all stakeholders, because pension funds have also invested in iCreate as well. If we look at the top 10 shareholders, we'll see that pensions are actually at risk as well. So there are many stakeholders, and to see the bigger picture, the founder has to take that into consideration of any business whatsoever. And it just underscores the importance of investor relations on a whole. That's what I take away from it.
And on that very point, of course, we did invite Tyrone to the show, and he said he's not doing interviews at the moment. We also tried to reach out to the interim chairman and interim CEO. They also are not speaking to the press at this time. But I do think that in due course, and sooner rather than later, someone needs to address the public on what is going on at iCreate, because, like you said, investor confidence has already been taking a hit. And with the suspension and now the resignation of the CEO, I can't imagine what's going to happen when trading actually does resume, when the JSE allows them to finally resume trading off those shares. Now, on the point, Leo, of Tyrone's resignation, there is precedence for founders to be kicked out of their companies. We saw Steve Jobs was basically kicked out of Apple, Apple being the company that he created. We don't know that Tyrone was forced to resign. I saw Lauren tweeting that actually he's been sick this entire year, and that's why he resigned, so he could focus on his health. So there's that aspect of it as well. But how unusual is it for a founder of a company to exit a company, especially if things are going how they are now?
It's not unusual for a founder to exit. Of course, the circumstances vary. So sometimes, of course, founders can just leave because they feel like they've done well and this is the time for them to step down. I mean, you could look at like a Howard Schultz for Starbucks in the US for that. So you can have that too. In this case, of course, it's a mixed bag. It's kind of somewhat speculation as to why exactly he left. That being said, though, there can be a positive from it, meaning because of the changes that we've seen in the leadership position, of course, they're suspended now. There can be hope that, when they, send in the reports that, they resume trading, that they actually start to execute and perform well in terms of the reporting, the performance, and build back that confidence. So that's basically the best case scenario. The probability as to how that's going to play out, well, I guess that's anybody's guess at this point, because of course we need, actual numbers in order to, match it out and see exactly where this thing can go.
It definitely
But
makes us nervous. It makes it nervous that, well,
yeah.
Are they that bad that they can't tell us what the numbers are?
Yeah, it's mixed, Cause all right, so I've seen companies before that it take forever to get the numbers, the audited numbers, and the numbers aren't actually that bad. It's just an accounting issue, meaning them back and forth with accountants and all sorts of things. And that creates an issue in terms of the length of time. So that could be a scenario. I'm just laying out all the scenarios here because, of course, we don't know exactly what's going on there. So that could be a scenario in their defense. That being said, though, it's just that as a listed entity, though, you tend to have priority with the auditors in terms of them making sure that you have your thing on time to report because, of course, you're under more scrutiny than, for example, like a private company, which, they might not get that audit done like at the same pace as you get with a listed entity. And then again, of course, it's up to management in order to make sure that they have their stuff together, that the audit can be done smoothly and that everybody can get what they need on time. But it's gonna, as you said, there's no doubt about it. It's gonna shake investor confidence. I'm only stating that there's a potential for them to recover. But that being said, a lot of investors probably not even gonna want to wait for that. But it is the nature of the game. Again, you take an investment, you take the risk, you take a chance with it, and this is kind of how the scenario can play. Again, it's not the end of the road, but it is what it is in terms of the type of risk and the what they call it now, increased negative sentiment that's gonna probably be around the stock for a while at least. They can get all this sorted out.
Looking at potential worst case scenario, Sean says, if the situation isn't rectified, iCreate will go back to becoming a private company and the shareholders will have to find their own buyers for the shares. Is that what would happen, Julian?
To be honest, it depends on the other variables at play because I believe none of us here have the full story. The management team has not really given us the reason that the CEO has stepped down. So I think that's a key variable in determining what comes next. And we don't know the audited financial statement position, so we don't know how strong the company is in terms of its balance sheet, because the balance sheet essentially tells us how much time a company has left. The balance sheet and the cash flow statement. That is really the determinant of where a company stands. So there's still key information that we don't have as yet. So I wouldn't go as far as talking about next steps until we have that. The audited and a formal disclosure and communication from iCreate to say, look, this is what is happening. And that's why I stressed in investor relations, we shouldn't have to speculate. Why is it that we don't know if it's health or if it's related to the company? We don't want a medical report, but if it's that serious, investors deserve to know because that's what they invested in. They invested in Tyrone and they deserve to know.
Absolutely. You're completely right. So hopefully we hear something from them very soon. So moving on to our last topic of this evening, Honey Bun's third quarter financial performance. Honey Bun is, I don't know, I just like this company. It's a fun company based on what they create. And then the image of their CEO is just so, happy and friendly and makes you want to eat up those nice donuts and cinnamon roll. How did they do this third quarter, Leo?
Yeah, man, they did very well. This company, they have a track record of doing well. So in this quarter, if I can share my screen here so I can show you what's going on. So in this quarter, what you're seeing is that revenue is up, profit is up. So if you zoom in a bit here, you can see where revenue is up about 9% on almost 10%, and net profit is up almost 44.5% this is in the third quarter only, right? So if you zoom out a bit now and you look on the 9-month period, then you can see that they actually have good performance also. So if you look at the 9-month, revenue is up about 18% and profits up almost 50% over the 9-month period. So they're doing very well on the 9-month period also. And then if you move forward here to, if you zoom out a bit now and you look over the years, right? You're also seeing some good performance from them. So if you look out over the years, you've seen where more or less revenue steadily increased, profits have increased, more or less steadily, but you saw like a decline occurring in the most recent here, right here in 2022. Oh, for context, they're here in the September. Now, when you on a slide I'm going to show soon, you'll see that there's some kind of correlation between the performance of the company in terms of profit growth and the performance of the stock. We still see that though. So let me just zoom this out and take a look here. So that now, when we look at the cash flow of the company, what we're seeing is that the operating cash flow more or less increased over the period. So it's steadily going up here and dipping in the last year, year in 2022, from 304 million down to about 184. But a lot of that decline right there is because of increased receivables, which of course are non-cash items, say, but that's out. So that's the reason why I see that decline there. So it's basically because of a growth in the receivables that they had in that year, why I seen a decline. And of course, because profits came in a bit, then that's why I seen a decline. But all in all, good for them. And let's move on a bit here now. So now, if you look on just the last 9 months period, you're seeing that they did 308.7 million in the 9 months in operating cash flow. Now that's significant because if you go back here and you look up, take a quick look in 2021 financial year, they did 304. And in this quarter, the 9 month period, they already 308 million in operating cash flow. So if you just, take a quick look what we've seen so far. So we say the income is up, and we see some strong cash flow coming in, as in an operating cash flow from them, right? And then now, if we take a look on some of these ratios, we're seeing that the gross margin moving in the right direction. So this is over the most recent 9 months period compared to the same period the prior year, right? We're seeing that the gross margin, operating margin, net profit margin, all of them have improved. The current ratio, that's also up. Now, the current ratio has been well over 1x, 1 times. So that means basically any near-term liabilities, they can easily meet those, right? And then if you look on the debt to equity ratio, it's basically non-existent. It's basically just some lease liabilities that they have, an accounting thing. So basically, this company basically has high cash flows coming in, no debt, strong profitability, and earnings growth, right? And look on the ROE, return on equity, return on assets, those are also strong. All right. Now, if you look on the performance of the stock now, that's a different story. So the stock is down about 21.4% for the year. For perspective, the junior market on a whole is down 2%. So this is a massive underperformance.
Wow.
Which is quite unusual because again, usually when the stock does well, in terms of not the stock, the earnings does well at a company, the stock does well also, but for some reason that's not fair now. So
I
when
wonder
you look,
why.
I'm not sure what's happening this year in particular. It's kind of weird. I think it's again might be tied to the overall sentiment in the market because if you look on this table here, right, it's showing the performance of the stock over the years for each month and for the full year. So if you look on the last column here, 2019 it saw a strong performance, 2021 it saw a strong performance. And if you go back and you look on the earnings of the company, you realize that those years kind of coincide when the profits was up significantly, like over 30%, right? But then of course, 2022 year, we know 2022 was down a bit for them. You see the stock performance was down. Now 2023 looks very strong for them, but the stock performance is still down. So that's the unusual part for them. And this what I call them, disconnects do occur from time to time in the market where the company is performing, but the stock price isn't. And again, we know that the overall market taking a beating, but again, the junior market's down too. This is down 21% or 1%. So
I'm surprised the junior market is only down 2 because I thought it was more than that.
Yeah, it was at one point. So if you look on the chart, you realize that up to just a little bit before, it was actually down some over that, like over 6%. So it's just recently probably rebounded why it's just down 2% now. But yeah, it was down. And if you go back earlier in the year, you can see it was down at one point in the chart. And right here, you can see it was actually down like 10%. If you go back earlier in the year here, you can see it was down like 10%. But now this is where it's at. So it's not that bad for the market. And you can see again, another way of looking at the stock performance of Honey Bun, you can see that, in the heyday, this is what, late 2021, it was up over $10 a share compared to where it's at now, which is like $6.28 a share. Well, as I close today. So, it's not doing that well there. Now, when you look on the price look on the volume on the stock now. So we're seeing that the activity is actually falling off. So 2021, which was a good performing year for them, the activity was very good. You can see the stock trading well over $1 million on an average day. The volume has been declining, and now in 2023, we can see that the lowest that we've seen for all of the data here, which is a little bit over $200,000 on an average day, which is pretty low for the stock. And again, to be fair, some of this might be because there was a general decline in trading activity in the market, which we've seen, again, because of overperformance in the market. So investors not really trading as much as they used to, but that's what's going on there. Now, when you look at the PE of the stock, it's very cheap. And you look on how it usually trades. So over the last year, average about 15 times. Now it's trading at about 11 times earnings. And any period you want to look back, about 3 years, 5-year average is trading well below all of those. So it's a sign that on comparing it to itself, it is relatively cheap. And again, because of what we looked at before, the question that you have to ask yourself as an investor is, does it deserve to be this cheap? Because again, they're performing, all indications that they can continue to perform. The balance sheet is strong, cash flow position is strong, profit is strong. And there's by all indications in terms of the investments that they're doing, what expansions that they're doing, they're continuing to grow. So the question, if I ask yourself, an investor, and you look at this, is it an opportunity or is it like a value trap? So that's the question when you look on all of this data here. And on the price to book basics, you can also see a similar trend where it's very cheap. So basically that's it. So looking through all of this data here, I know it's a lot. Try to make it shorter, it's a lot. But looking at all of this data here,
great analysis.
It gives you an idea of what's going on with this company, and then it's down now to the investor to make the ultimate decision. Of course, consult your broker, your advisor, if it's for you in terms of your risk tolerance, in terms of what you're trying to do. There's something I forgot to mention. This also is a very good dividend payout. So the consistently paid dividend, while still growing revenues, while still growing profits. And so, it's done, it's basically done everything that it can do as a company. So there's nothing really to fault them on to say, boy, they're not generating that cash, they're not paying no dividends. And the dividends have been steadily increasing over time. And again, because of how much cash they have on the balance sheet, I didn't show it here, but the company has hundreds of millions of dollars of cash on the balance sheet, and they generate hundreds of millions of dollars of cash each year. So they're in a position that they can keep paying that dividend for some time and grow, meaning grow organically. The debt level is low, so if they need to borrow in order to help them grow, they can do that also. So there's a lot of avenues open up for them in terms of what they can do. And so that's it. So all in all, I think it's good.
Couple comments on Honey Bun from the viewers. Troyan says Honey Bun recently opened an outlet in St. Thomas as well. So part of the reason for the increase in revenues. And then Lily says people moving around shares to take advantage of the dividend payouts keeping this month. But you also just heard Lily say that Honey Bun is also a great dividend paying stock. So could be part of it. I don't know.
Yeah. So that's it.
Natoya said, I guess investors find the stock boring. We don't hear much about Honey Bun.
Yeah, and you can see it in the activity. It's not trading that much. $200,000 on an average day. That's not a lot. So so I guess that's it. But the thing is, though, when you have to ask yourself as an investor, when you're looking broadly, building out your portfolio, is yes, again, some of the business models might not sound as exciting, like some of the tech firms, like some of the but if the company is generating good operating cash flows, good dividend paying, growth is there. The thing is, again, clearly you're not going to put 100% of your money on it, but you have to ask yourself, is this something that I'd like to include in the portfolio? So that's how I'd look on it. So it's not always going to be exciting and flashy in terms of the business operations, but
sometimes boring companies are good, boring, consistent, reliable.
The companies, yeah.
Same thing in relationships. By the way, before we move on, not saying you're boring, babe. I know you're watching. You're not boring at all. of you.
Negative. Oh God.
Stability and consistency. That was my point.
Mhm.
By the way, do you know how much the market is down overall this year? So main and junior.
The June, I think the main is around six. I can get that data. I think it's around 6%. I can check it though.
All right.
You
I'm
can
only
continue. I'll
asking.
tell you. I'll tell you.
No, the main is down more than that, man. Main is down more than 12.
More
I
than
think.
12 year to date.
No, not year to date. I'm talking year. Hold on, wait. Yeah, I have to double check. Hold on.
No, I'm asking because I actually
Have
wanted
it
to
here on
use
my
that to
machine.
segue into your discussion, Julian,
Yeah,
because well, we all know the market here in Jamaica has been down this year. I don't know by how much because we
significantly.
don't have that number offhand, but how are we abroad? So is there any hope in the S&P 500 year to date? Have they done better than the JSE?
Yeah, so let me share.
Hold on 1 second. It's 9%. That's the number.
So that's main and
No,
junior combined or just
no, the
main?
oh combined. Oh, the mean is 9. I don't know the combined or the combined.
Okay.
All right, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Hold on. Oh, hmm.
So while you bring that up, let me take some of the comments.
Can you see it?
Yes, I think it's coming up now. Yes, there it is.
All right. Zoom in a bit. Oops. Undo. Oh boy. Just a sec. Yeah, so the S&P 500 index is up 14% year to date, 14.3% to be precise. And on
What are
year
we
over,
looking at? Is this a chart of the S&P 500 year to date?
it is a chart of the S&P 500 year to date. You can hear me, right, Kalilo?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, man. So it's the performance of the S&P 500 year to date. On the next slide, we have the performance on a year-over-year basis, as at August 27th, August 22nd, which is today, and it's only up 6.03%. So let's put that into perspective. On a year-to-date perspective, meaning from December 31st to today, we would have seen a major uptick in stocks related to AI and the AI trade. So it would have shown a large recovery profile from the December 31st position. So companies like Nvidia would have outperformed significantly, and we're actually going to have the breakout in terms of the stocks that are in the lead. But just thematically, in terms of themes, the market was largely driven by the AI trade for the most part this year. But as we can see from a year over year perspective, it's not up that much. It's just by a mere 6%. And for context, US core inflation is not far from that. US core inflation is about 5% now. So the real return is like 1% from a core inflation standpoint, not headline, from a core inflation standpoint. And core inflation is inflation subtracting food and energy. So pretty much the market is flat year over year. And the reason the year over year performance is not so great is because we're seeing a greater effect of how much the US Federal Reserve increased interest rates year over year. So because the US Federal Reserve is trying to contain inflation, there were several interest rate hikes done by the monetary authority, which caused investors to shift away from equities and move more into fixed income. So it's a similar theme on the US market, compared to the local market. The percentages aren't the same, but the move from institutional investors is similar. So let us go to the slide looking at the stocks that are in the lead for the year. All right. So as you know, year over year, we're up only 6.03%.
Zoom in on these ones. Let's see.
All right. Yeah.
More.
Can you see better?
A bit better, yes. Nvidia, I remember you told us about this stock probably last year.
So Nvidia is in the lead, 160%,
Wow.
168%. That has a lot to do with the AI trade. So Nvidia doesn't make chips. They don't make semiconductor chips. What they do is to program the chips. Companies like Taiwan Semiconductors they make the chips, but Nvidia programs the chips and they also design the chips. So think of them as chip architects. They will draw and design the chip and they will send the information to TSMC and say, hey, TSMC, please execute this design. TSMC then takes the instruction from NVIDIA, makes the chip, sends it back to NVIDIA, and then NVIDIA programs the chip. So what that does is keep NVIDIA's profit margins healthy because NVIDIA doesn't have to deploy as much resources to actually make the chip. So they would have to buy the raw material to go into the chip making process. They essentially have the advantage of focusing on where they're strong, which is chip design and chip programming. And NVIDIA is one of the leaders in terms of graphics production, making high quality graphic generation that goes into cell phones, laptops, computers, not media devices. Well, yes, media devices, medical instruments, generating images. For example, if doctors are doing surgeries, they need to project an image and see, they want to see organs, for example. NVIDIA's chip technology enables that. Next, we have Royal Caribbean Cruises at 163%, and that has
I
a
see
lot to do.
two cruise companies there. Carnival also at number 9.
Yeah, so a lot of the leaders here have to do with the reopening trade, i.e., stocks that would have benefited significantly from the removal of COVID-19 restrictions on a year-over-year basis. And we have Meta Platforms, which is formerly called Facebook, at number 7, and Eli Lilly, a healthcare company that essentially discovered some solutions around diabetes medicine and also weight loss
I'm
medicines.
surprised Meta is up there because there was some loss of confidence when they changed strategy to the metaverse and all of that. But it's doing well now. I'm also surprised to see General Electric up there.
Right.
I thought that company
GE.
was like 1990,
Well,
1980.
what happened with GE though, Kalila, is that there were three major business divisions, and essentially the company got too large and it got bogged down by all of those segments. So the returns became diluted because the company's resources were spread too thin. So there was a decision to split the business segments and spin them off. And I believe that had a positive impact on performance. So that could be a driver for how it has traded so far year to date. In terms of Meta, so large cap stocks like Meta, especially those that are linked to the tech sector, because it's classified as communication services, but it still has a tech leaning. So companies like that are supported by ETF purchases. So ETFs are exchange traded funds, and these are funds that are tasked with matching the performance of the S&P 500 or any other index. And in order to match the performance of the index, the ETF has to buy the stocks that are in the index to essentially copy or mimic the performance of the index. So when these large cap tech stocks increase in value, the ETFs will then have to buy those stocks and essentially mimic the performance, and that keeps these stocks pushing higher and higher and higher. So that could be a part of why Meta Platforms has performed the way it has. But overall, in terms of earnings on the US market, we've seen more earnings disappointments than earnings surprises. And that has a lot to do with sticky inflation coupled with rising interest rates. Many companies have been seeing choppy performances that were below market expectations. So, earnings have not really been up to par for most investors. But again, we have to extend our time horizon because this is just a cycle that we're in, and we know that eventually things will turn, interest rates will come back down, and we will be in a time period where earnings will be more attractive. All right. So moving on to the sectors. So here we have the sectors. So on a year-over-year basis, energy is in the lead, followed by consumer discretionary. Those are stocks that benefit from the economic cycle, i.e., they tend to boom when the economy is booming and they tend to tank when the economy is tanking. So we're talking about companies like Nike, companies like Louis Vuitton, Moët Hennessy, or LVMH. Essentially, things that people buy because they want, not because they need it. And we know we're in the age of Amazon where people have virtually unlimited access to buy stuff. You know, we're in the stuff economy. People just buy the stuff that they want, and because it's online, you know, people want to enjoy life now. They don't want to put off their desires for 20, 30 years. They want to be able to get what they want now. So that has a lot to do with how the sentiment around consumer discretionary stocks have performed. And this is actually the largest sector in terms of membership. There are more stocks in consumer discretionary. Next up, industrials, then we have technology, then communications and healthcare in the middle. And the worst performer is real estate. So the situation with real estate is that real estate is typically an underperformer as it relates to listing on the market, and that has a lot to do with the liquidity profile of those assets. They tend to not trade as well because the assets are not as liquid. Also, there are heavy depreciation charges on those assets because again, you're holding a lot of fixed assets, so the depreciation tends to shrink the earnings. So from an earnings standpoint, a lot of those real estate companies are not that attractive, but they do have an audience. They tend to pay out high dividends. So dividend lovers tend to look to real estate related
Yeah,
stocks.
those REITs.
Yeah, REITs and REIT-like investments. So you have hospital REITs, there are retail REITs. So if you want to buy a portfolio of malls, you can buy a portfolio of malls, or you want to buy a portfolio of hospitals, or whatever the case may be. There are way more options than on the local market as it relates to the REIT segment. And what's important is that real estate is very interest rate sensitive. So when interest rates go up, we know that that will affect mortgages, and we know that a lot of real estate is purchased using debt. So if debt becomes more expensive, it means that the pace at which these portfolios are built out would shrink significantly. So that's basically a synopsis of how the S&P 500 has performed year over year and on a year-to-date basis. I think that the emerging issues around China could impair the outlook some more. So we could see more volatility going into the end of the year. We could see more choppiness around earnings because we expect the Fed to hike interest rates some more because the inflation drivers are still entrenched. But we believe there's opportunity in consumer staples, companies like Pepsi, companies like Coca-Cola, companies that essentially sell what people need. So Leovani mentioned earlier, these are companies that can do well regardless of how the economy is performing. And also, of course, you know, healthcare, pharmaceutical companies, companies like Eli Lilly, United Healthcare, CVS, and others. So there's still opportunity, but we just have to be more specific in this kind of cycle because generally we are entering a phase that is more challenging. So it's going to be rainy weather. But what we have to do as investors is to adapt. So draw for the raincoat and the umbrella, and then we keep it moving.
So just before we go, one last question from our viewers. It comes from Natoya. Question for Julian. What is Wealth Watch JA about? What services do you offer?
Okay, so Wealth Watch JA is a financial literacy platform. It started out as a blog, and then it morphed into not just blogs, but also video representations of various ideas. For example, there's a breakdown of what risk is all about, what is a stock, what is a bond. It's been around for about 6-7 years now. So that's what it's all about. Right now I don't charge for that because I see it more as like a a social service. I'm an investment professional by practice. I do this day in, day out, but I see it as my way of giving back. So that's what Wealth Watch JA is all about, essentially.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Julian. Thank you, Leo, as well. This was a great discussion.
Anytime, Kalila.
Night.
I notice I have on my bush jacket because I'm Dr. Doom now. It's like, it's subtle. Yeah. Yeah.
All
I know
right.
it's kind of corny, but yeah, I'm playing into the role.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Got it. All right.
Cool.
Well, that's it for the analyst. Let's take a very quick break and come back with final comments.
This segment of Taking Stock, The Analyst, was brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart.
What do you do when you're suddenly hit with a big unexpected expense? If you have children in prep school like me, I have two, you've gotten the note that school fees are going up by as much as 50%. So you're stressed out right now, huh? At this point, you may be considering some of these options. So you may be looking to reallocate funds, maybe cancel summer vacation, take out a loan or put it on a credit card, move your kids to public school, or you just gotta step up your hustle. But we can figure it out. That's the thing. Realistically, all we have to do is plan.
My name is Tamika Thomas-Shaw. My top things today were about budgeting and investing. While the session on budgeting started off making me feel as if, oh boy, I've not been doing myself much justice in this area, I opened my eyes as to what I can do, and especially the app that you shared with us. So I will definitely be putting the action.
Build your budget with me inside the Money Mission community. You'll get my BYB template, app recommendations, and live brainstorming sessions to help you plug those income gaps. Build Your Budget is available on demand or with a premium membership to the Money Mission community. Join now at moneymission.mn.co. The link is in the description.
In the sweltering heat of Jamaica, a humble appliance attempts to tame the relentless blaze. Enter the Lasco fan, valiantly striving to provide respite from the scorching temperatures. With blades spinning and air circulating, the Lasco fan becomes a symbol of hope in the face of oppressive heat.
We not about that life. We have AC money. We have JPS money. Join me and the money makers inside the Money Mission community. All right, final comments now. Shelly Ann says, still waiting on the interview with the 30 to 35-year-old real estate owners. I'm holding my breath. Don't let me die. Some of them younger than that too, you know, Shelly Ann. Should have come to Keisha's Build Wealth Real Estate Conference last Saturday. It was so good. Roger says the stock market on a whole is just declining. When these companies make a lot of profit, it's only going back to the companies and never to shareholders. Can't remember when last I got dividends. I guess it depends on what companies you invest in, Roger, because there are some that pay consistent, reliable dividends. Grace Kennedy being one of them. TJH being another one. Jason says it seems like companies on the market making record profits and use the excuse of expanding to not pay dividends. I think companies should do more to show appreciation for investors. I wouldn't call expanding an excuse. You have a business and you want to expand. That's what your profits are for. So you can accept financing. Would you rather they borrow? It's options. You know, you have different options that you can take. Summer says, question, what if the situation... Okay, so this was iCreate and we discussed that. Lily says, who said money news boring? I keep telling you guys, so much is happening this year in the business climate, especially in Jamaica. Philip says, bear in mind that the JSE did give some leeway for reporting periods up to and including last year due to COVID. Different time now, though, referring to the delay in iCreate submitting their audited financials. Yes, it is a different time now. Sean says, anyone investing in iCreate was gambling. The stock was too risky for its own good. Gotta know your risk appetite. Garvin says, if it's really a health issue, I sincerely wish Tyrone all the best. Hashtag blessings. Shelly says, it's not the suspension, it's the leadership. She says, good thing he's out. Now they need to build back if they can and repair the damages. What else do we have here? A few other comments. Lumber Depot paying out dividends. of 0.072 cents. More companies' earnings reports are out, so let's see. And Roswell also saying, I noticed stocks are trading low. Why not just buy up the discount? Lasco Distributors is doing well. I remember buying Lasco at $250 and $230. Where is it now? I have no idea. Let me know in the comments. But thank you guys so much for joining me this evening. Thank you for taking us to 50,000 subscribers. Woohoo! Make sure you like the video though. You guys like to watch this video, but you don't like it for some reason. Even though you do internally like it, you gotta hit the like button as well and let YouTube know that you like it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it yet. Share the video with a friend. Subscribe to the newsletter, KalilaReynolds.com/newsletter. And lots of nice goodies for new subscribers. And it's also, I'm doing Ask Kalila again next week, Wednesday, because I'm actually traveling this weekend. I'm going to Invest Fest in Atlanta, and I have some very specific goals at Invest Fest. I'm hoping to come back. Let me not tell you all my business. But yeah, I'm going to Invest Fest this weekend, coming back on Monday. So I do have time to do Taking Stock Tuesday in studio. But that does mean that I won't be able to do Money Mission Monday, because we usually do something in the community on Mondays. But Wednesday, we are going to do that. So tune in to Money Mission on Wednesday. I'll be sending out an email asking you to submit questions in advance so that we can, move along much faster. So join basic or premium moneymission.mn.co. Also, turn on your post notifications here on YouTube so that you can be the first to see everything when it drops. We want to help people learn more about money so we can all get this money together. Follow me on the other platforms. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. And I only have the one page, guys. Anything else is a scam. I don't have any backup accounts. Report all scammers. If you want to connect with the analysts this week, check the description box for their contact information. You can also visit the website, KalilaReynolds.com, for financial information you can use however you like it. Watch, listen, or read. Now tell a friend about taking stock, because investing is the new sexy. So let's make it cool to talk about money. I'm Kalila Reynolds. Thanks for watching.
Let's get this money.